Oh, Vikings, let's win this game.
Man, it feels like someone flipped the switch in Minnesota overnight. The Vikings just fired off a message toward the Texans as those trade whispers started bubbling up, and now you've got someone inside the building openly linking this team to a free agent move. It's like watching three gears, offense, defense, and the front office, all start grinding at once, and when that machine starts humming together, you know something bigger is cooking under the hood. Out of nowhere, this thing came in like a punch you didn't see coming. Because when other teams start pointing at you like a cautionary tale, that cuts deep. Not surface-level talk either. This is the kind of comment that rips open something that never fully healed. And the spark behind it all? C.J. Stroud. For a stretch, the Vikings were floated as a possible landing spot. Nothing locked in, but the rumor alone says a lot about where this team stands. Built to compete in a lot of areas, but still chasing clarity at the one spot that drives everything. And that's why this hit so hard. Because during that whole conversation, an NFC executive dropped a brick, basically warning teams to avoid ending up like Minnesota. That's not just noise. That's a red flag waving in your face. And when you trace the steps, you see why. The team moved on from Kirk Cousins, tried to reset the board, drafted J.J. McCarthy. Now that Murray is part of this room, still has Carson Wentz sitting there. And yet, nothing feels locked in. It's like juggling knives. Effort is there, but control isn't. And that tension doesn't fade. It stacks, year after year. This team hovers in that awkward space. Wins enough to stay relevant, shows flashes that pull you in. But when it's time to climb that next hill, they stall out. And quarterback is the anchor dragging behind them. The tricky part? This spotlight is now shining right on Kevin O'Connell. He's always been the guy who unlocks quarterbacks, the fixer, the one who elevates talent. Now he's staring at a puzzle with too many moving pieces. A young guy still unproven. A veteran trying to rediscover himself. Pressure creeping in from every angle. Let's not sugarcoat it. They cannot miss again here. They can't keep spinning the wheel and hoping it lands right. Not with this roster, because everything else is lined up. Defense has teeth. Offense has weapons. But without a steady hand at quarterback, it's like building a house on sand. So I've got to ask you, do you actually trust this QB room to solve it? Drop your thoughts because fans are split down the middle on this. And here's the crazy part. This isn't even the most intense situation today, because what's next hits the defense right at its core. Sometimes a move lands and the room just goes quiet. Not outrage, not celebration, just that uneasy pause like something doesn't quite add up. That's exactly the vibe when Jonathan Greenard was gone. But don't get it twisted. This wasn't just a name leaving. This was production walking out the door. Pressure off the edge, strength against the run. A guy who gave this defense its bite. And now, that weight shifts. Right onto Dallas Turner. Talent? No question. We've seen flashes, moments where he popped. But now it's not about flashes. It's about carrying the whole load, being the engine, not just a spark. And that's a whole different game. His stats show promise, pressures, sacks, big plays at key times. But stack that next to what Greenard was doing, and yeah, there's a gap, a real one. And that's where the unease creeps in for those who live and breathe Vikings football. Because growth isn't automatic. The NFL doesn't hand out leaps just because you're next in line. Some players rise when the lights hit, others feel the heat. And right now, nobody knows which version Turner becomes. That's what makes this whole thing feel like walking a tightrope. Then, right in the middle of that, another name starts floating around. Jadeveon Clowney, a vet who still brings pressure, still has that physical edge. But then you hit the other side of the coin, durability, consistency, mileage. How much is left? That's the debate brewing behind the scenes. Do you bring in someone like that to share the burden? Or does that slow down Turner's growth? Because one thing is crystal clear. This unit cannot take a step back. Not if this defense wants to stay dangerous. And here's another layer. This wasn't about thinking they're better without Greenard. It was money, future planning, a move for what's ahead. But while the front office is thinking long-term, Sundays demand answers now. Straight up. This decision could define what this defense really is in 2026. If Turner breaks out, it looks like genius. If he doesn't, it feels like letting go of a cornerstone too soon. And that pressure doesn't sit still. One injury, one cold stretch, one bad run, and suddenly this topic is back, louder than ever. And if you think this is already heavy, just wait, because the offense might be staring at something even darker. What's your take on Jadeveon Clowney? Quick ask. Jump in and lock in with the channel. You know how some opinions just pass by, and others stick in your head like a song you can't shake? That's what happened when analysts started laying out this potential path for the Vikings offense. Before we even get to the names, look at the blueprint. Bring in a veteran. Let the young guy grow. Build competition. Sounds clean, right? like a perfect diagram. But real life doesn't follow diagrams, and that's where it gets messy. Because the names in play here are Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy, and the scenario being floated, it's heavy. The idea is Murray steps in, but never quite reaches that high gear again. Not bad enough to get pulled quickly, but not good enough to fix anything either. And that middle space? That's quicksand for a team. On the flip side, McCarthy doesn't make the leap everyone hoped for. Development stalls. He's not ready to take over, but not gone from the picture either. And just like that, you're stuck in football limbo. Not bad enough to tear it down, not good enough to push forward, just spinning in place. And this isn't some wild guess. Murray's recent track record backs it up. Injuries, inconsistency, flashes of brilliance followed by drop-offs. Sustained excellence hasn't been his story. Meanwhile, McCarthy is still a mystery box. Missed time, lost reps. Now he has to prove he's more than just upside. And here's where it hits hardest. If Murray plays well, he sticks around. That delays McCarthy. If Murray struggles, you burn another season waiting on development that might not come. There's no easy path here. And that spotlight swings right back to Kevin O'Connell, the guy known for fixing quarterbacks, the one who's revived careers before. But now, he's juggling two volatile situations at once, and it's risky. Real talk. This kind of setup can define an entire year. This isn't a side issue. This is the heartbeat of the team. And when the heartbeat is unstable, everything feels off rhythm. So I want to hear from you. Do you believe this combo works, or does this feel like trouble brewing? Let me know how you see it. Because while the offense is dealing with this massive question, the defense is making bold bets too. And the next move shows just how far they're willing to push it. Not every draft moment gets cheers. Some land like a coin flip in a tense room. And that's exactly what happened when the Vikings rolled the dice on Caleb Banks. But step back first. Look at the bigger pattern. This team has been reshaping the roster, adjusting contracts, moving key pieces around. And then when it's time to reinforce the defense, they go with a player who brings as many questions as he does upside. Caleb Banks. Physically, he jumps off the screen. Power, explosion, the kind of presence that can change a play in a blink. But attached to that, a file nobody ignores, injuries, inconsistency, even whispers about effort. And this wasn't just fan chatter. People around the league said it out loud. Talent is scary, but everything else raises eyebrows. And when that kind of talk comes from inside NFL circles, it sticks like glue until proven wrong. At the same time, there's a clear mindset inside Minnesota. Brian Flores has built a reputation for molding raw talent, taking players others doubted and turning them into contributors. So the team leaned into that. They chased the ceiling, even knowing the risk, passed on safer options with lower upside. And that decision doesn't live in a vacuum. It connects to everything else they've done this offseason. This is a philosophy, a direction. But here's the danger zone. Combine that with losing Jonathan Greenard, and suddenly the margin for error gets razor thin. This isn't one gamble. It's multiple chips pushed to the center of the table. Let's be honest. If Banks hits, it reshapes the defense completely. Huge win. But if he doesn't, it becomes one of those moves fans don't forget. These decisions don't sit neutral. They either launch you forward or come back like a storm. That's why this pick carries extra weight, and you can feel how it all ties together. Risk stacking on defense, questions stacking on offense, pressure rising everywhere. But the strangest part of all this, it's not even happening on the field. Because what's going on behind the scenes has the entire league raising eyebrows. Sometimes what happens off the field hits just as hard as what happens on it. And right now, what the Vikings are doing in the front office has people around the league looking at it sideways. Start with the context. The team moved on from Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Then they placed someone they trust in the interim role. Announced a full search for a new GM. At first glance, that feels structured, like a plan with direction. But then comes the twist. That interim guy didn't just hold the seat. He ran free agency, took part in the draft, made real calls. And even with that, they still opened the door for outside candidates. And that's where Brzezinski enters the spotlight. He's already in the building, knows the system inside out, has ties with Kevin O'Connell, deals with agents. In many ways, he's already functioning in that role. Yet the team is still casting a wide net. And that raised eyebrows fast. People asking, if you trusted him with major decisions, why not just hand him the job? That's the piece nobody can quite line up. And once that question hangs there, theories start flying. Are they unsure? Looking for a different vision? Or just trying to validate something already decided behind closed doors? Being straight up, it feels like hesitation. And when the team already has uncertainty on the field, this just adds more static. But there's another angle too. Maybe they're trying to do this the right way. Evaluate every option. Avoid rushing into something. But in this league, Perception travels fast. And right now, the perception is that Minnesota is still searching for itself at one of the most critical positions in the organization. And when you tie that into everything else, unclear quarterback situation, bold defensive risks, major financial decisions, it paints a bigger picture. And that picture leaves one question echoing. Are the Vikings building something solid or still trying to figure out who they are? Because that answer doesn't just shape this season, it shapes everything. Step back and look at the full board we just laid out. Outside voices taking shots at the quarterback direction. Jonathan Greenard's exit shaking the defensive structure. Dallas Turner stepping into a pressure-packed role. The gamble on Caleb Banks splitting opinions. And on top of that, uncertainty surrounding Rob Brzezinski in the front office. This isn't just a rough patch. This is a crossroads moment that can shape the Vikings for years. When this many big decisions collide at once, there's no gray area. It either clicks like a perfect storm, or it unravels. And I'm telling you straight, this season isn't business as usual. It's a mirror. It's going to show exactly what this team really is. So drop your comment. What's the one story here that hit you the hardest? Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.